Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Harika. So in previous video, we have seen how to log in into an web application by using all these activities. We have understood few properties and how to work in order to, log in into an application using UiPath. And for that, I have provided you the test URL. And we have also seen a very clear understanding on how to pass a secure string into secure text activity, type secure text activity, right? So as I've already given some questions for you, I would like to see if you could able to grab the answers and also the previous assignment in the video what I have mentioned you. So I'm going to give an solution for that in this video. So what is the thing that we are going to do in this video right now is, so basically after login, after clicking the login button, so there's gonna be two actions that may happen, right? So in these two different flows we have to design as per the workflow, how the robot's gonna process. So first thing what I'm going to do after clicking the login button, it can be either a successful scenario or it can be a failure scenario, right? So in case of success scenario, what's gonna happen? User will be logged in, right? So user logs in into the application. In case of failure, maybe it could be because of, excuse me, it could be because of invalid login password or something of that sort. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, first let's try to check this out. So to do that, we in the previous video we have already seen element exist activity, right? Okay, so in the previous video we have seen element exist activity. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull an element exist here. So before to that, let's first log in into the application and have our selectors ready. I'm going to debug the file. Okay, we are in the application page. So now user will try to log in into the application after the page gets loads completedly. So we have seen wait for ready as complete property. Okay, so I have provided the invalid password. So this is the error message that has come. So what I'm going to do now is, let's capture that particular element. So for that, I'm having an element exist. So in previous video, we have seen how to capture a particular web element and how to stabilize the selectors, right? So if you're not aware of it, just go and check out that video. So it will be very much clear for you. So I'm going to edit this selector in UI Explorer. If I can have any other attribute into my selector. Just take some time to load. Yeah, here it is. So if you see, I'm going to select the ANM because ANM attribute value is user ID or password did not match, which is exactly that is showing up on the screen, right? So I believe this will be the constant value and that error message is also constant with respect to failure scenario, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add this up into my selector. So there are some spaces. So let me take off the spaces and replace it with the wildcard. So if you are not sure if there are one or two spaces here, you can either replace that spaces and put a wildcard there. Okay, I'm just going to validate this and highlight. So if you see, this got highlighted in the red box, right? Just click on save and that will be saved into your selector editor window. Okay, say okay. So this is basically what my error message, right? So just give a variable here, do control K and give a variable name error message. Okay, that means we are not we could not able to log in into the page successfully, right? So just pull a log message and here we have already seen, right? There's an if condition. If condition. So if this error message is true, if this is true, then what we are going to print, that it is an invalid login, right? Just pull this activity here and say the message as invalid username or password. Okay, what happened? Okay. Invalid username or password. Okay. Or else what we are going to do, just copy this and paste his here. We can say successful login. Okay. We are going to do this. Just checking this particular activity. Okay. So for that, let's close this and try to run the file. So after clicking on login, it shows invalid username or password. So we are going to check this. So let's suppose if the username or the password is correct. Okay. So I'm going to variables and changing this. Okay. If this is 1, saving it and running the file. Before that, let me close this. So here I'm going to put a question for you. Try to observe the flow clearly and try to understand the concepts clearly. So we are clicking on login. Now this is correct username and password. So that's why it will not run the flow. It will be waiting, right? So if you just observe here, it's waiting. The process is waiting because it is not able to find this particular element, which is invalid username or password. So from the previous example, from the previous video, you have to guess yourself that if why this is waiting this much time and what will be the default time, because we haven't provided any timeout here, right? So how much time it's gonna wait? If you see, it's already more than 10 to 15 seconds, right? So it's still waiting. And if you see, it has said successful login, but it has taken 54 seconds. So in order to reduce this time, we have this property which we have seen already in the previous video, right? So we have to mention this time. But let's say if you don't wanted to mention this time, but still if you wanted to reduce the time taken by the process execution, then how you can do? One way is mentioning the time. So let's say if I say 5 seconds, it will be waiting for 5 seconds and after that it will execute. Even if you don't want it to wait for 5 seconds also, then what you can do, just pull in a parallel activity here. So it's kind of a little more than basic topic. The parallel activity is, it is used to execute the activities that are there inside this particular parallel activities simultaneously. So if you wanted to understand a very clear picture about or the functionality about the parallel activity, you have a video on my channel. So let me just show you that video. Go to my channel. Okay. So on my channel, I have released a video. This is the video that I'm talking about. So with parallel activity UiPath, you can clearly understand how you can work with parallel activity. But on a high level and on a basic level, I will explain you how this activity would work. Okay. So I will pull one more element exist here. So I'm going to indicate the element on screen. Here I'm going to indicate the element which will be used to mention that I have successfully logged into the application. So let's say if I can see the dashboard, I mean to say that I'm inside the application. So let's check the selector. If there is any editing needed, I will edit it. Okay, so here if you see, src is some dashboard.png and it is image tag. So what I can do is instead of this dot dot slash, I'm going to put a star. And so as this is a ASP.NET. So I think this will be constant, and I'm going to highlight. This will be highlighted. Okay, so this is one selector that I have chosen to make sure that I am in a home page. Okay, so you can take whatever the selector you want. You can just play around it, and okay, so this selector will let me know that I am in the home page. So give a element exist, do a control K and give home page. I already have the selector created, so I'm just using it. So now as I'm using the parallel activity, so the process will execute simultaneously, so there won't be any delay or something involved. But even though if you want to understand the concept very clearly, I would recommend you to go and watch the video. So that's it, right? So these both will be executing parallelly, and that would provide me an output variable. So let's say if error message is there, this is going to be true and it will be executed, or else this will be executed. And now as I am changing the values manually inside this particular variable default value, I am going to show you how we can change them dynamically as well. But before to that, let me run this workflow and show you how this works. So we are executing the process. So we have already logged in into the page as per my assumption, because we didn't click on the logout button, right? So it will now try to check for this particular login, right? If it's not, it will go to the else block, and it will try to check either of these two are available or not. And if you see, it will be showing successful login. Because if you are a little confused, I will put this in a debug mode and slow step, so you can see how the process is executing actually. Okay, let me keep a breakpoint here. So don't worry about slow step, breakpoint, debugging and all right now. I will make a different series on how you can debug and understand how the process actually flows. So you can see for your understanding, I wanted to keep a breakpoint and let you know how the process will flows. So now let me debug the file so you can see how the process is happening. So if you see here, let me close the window first. The process started, it has opened the browser and it is maximizing now. It's checking for the login page element, and now it will be seeing if this condition is true or not. So as the let us go to the web page and check. So if you see, we are already in the login page, right? So it will be checking if the login page is true or not. So based on the condition, if you see, it hasn't executed this particular workflow because we are already logged in into the application. This is already inside the application. So we don't have a selector where we can type into the username or the password fields, right? So that has returned a variable false. From this, the output is false. So it has come directly into the parallel activity, and now it's gonna check if this element is there or this element is there. So for that, I'm going to do a step into, and then it's gonna check which element is there. Right after checking, it's gonna go into the next condition, which is if. So based on the output of these particular values, it's gonna go. So as per our scenario, we should have the dashboard, right? So it has to say error message is false. So it will be going to the else block where it will print the successful login, right? So this is how the flow actually happens. So now instead of changing the variable values,